and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views of ECTV News, the City of East Chicago, nor this broadcast station or website. ECTV airs public meetings as a service to the community it serves. Speakers at public meetings, broadcast, or posted by ECTV News are solely responsible for their comments. ECTV News reserves the right to edit or remove any profanity or abusive language or behavior deemed inappropriate for our viewing audience. If you have any comments or suggestions about this program, contact ECTV News at 219-391-8206.
East Chicago, Indiana. Good old 219. Housing over 30,000 people of diverse backgrounds of all ages. But not even the City of Hope and Progress is immune to criminal action. So take a ride alongside East Chicago's finest and bravest men and women as they patrol the streets, carrying out their duty to protect and serve. This is ECPD Live.
Good afternoon, Chief Rosario here from the Chicago Police Department. I'm going to take you on a ride along so you can see what some of the officers do. We're going to hit all the neighborhoods, the parks, get engaged with the community, see what problems they're having out there. If you guys see us out, don't hesitate to stop us. Let us know what's going on in your neighborhood. Due to the isolated incidents, we will be out a lot more now, patrolling. So, like I said, if you happen to see us, feel free to stop by and say hi to us. Thanks a lot. Have a good one and be safe.
I'll be in the area. You can mark me there. 10-4.
So the administration, patrol officers, we're going to have some detectives out, some gang unit officers, our K-9 guy. We're going to go ahead and patrol some of the areas of the city that we've been having high call volume. We had some reports of shots fired throughout the city, so we use our shot spotter technology to find out where most of the shots are coming from. So we're going to target those areas tonight. Also, the complaints we've been getting from either community meetings, Facebook, people calling in. We're going to hit some of those areas as well. We'll be out most of the afternoon, so it's about an additional 12 of us on top of the 8 patrol officers that are already out answering calls. So we'll be out there as a supplement to them, handling some other calls for them. So we're ready to go out there and see what we get into. When I took over as deputy chief, I also became the public information officer for the city and at least for the police department. And we haven't had one for the police department in years. So typically that would fall under the responsibility of the previous chiefs, and they would report what's going on in the city. But it takes a lot of work to do your job stay on top of the media and report what's going on in the department. So I took that responsibility last year. And that's why, the public is informed of all the shootings, if we have any homicides, if we have any break-ins. I have a really good relationship with our media, whether it's our region news source, Hammond Times, whether it's CBS, NBC. I've developed so many relationships with all of them. They reach out to me every time something goes on in the city, and I go ahead and I release that information. And that's just us being transparent. We're not trying to hide anything. And by us releasing so much information now, it seems like, oh my God, there's so much stuff happening in the city. And in actuality, no, crime is still down in the city. We're just reporting it now compared to when it wasn't reported. So now you're actually hearing about what's going on in the city. But violent crime is absolutely down. Yes, there are shots being fired in the city. Yes, we're having some problems in certain areas, but it's not the entire city. And today we're going to try to address some of those areas that we're having these problems at. So hopefully we can calm things down for the summer before it escalates too much. He's loitering in front of this apartment here at 145th Magoon with a red shirt. He's known to our officers to have a warrant. So his warrant is out of California for resisting arrest and some other misdemeanor charges. The problem is that California won't extradite. So we were able to detain him until we can find out if they're going to extradite or not. And California said that they wouldn't extradite. So after we detained him, we just gave him a warning telling him that he's no longer allowed on his property because he doesn't live here. So He got his bike, he's going home, and today he's free to go.
26 location. It's gonna be Chicago Indy.
I'm gonna just leave that there.
Chicago Indy Boulevard.
So, as of July 1st, Indiana, there's a new law in Indiana. You can't be on your cell phone mobile device. You can't even have it in your hand. He probably didn't know I was a police officer sitting in the truck right next to him, and he was clearly on his phone the whole time I was next to him, so that's why I stopped.
Mary had on George, Edward.
Can I flex my hand real quick? Yeah. I'm gonna flex my hand real quick.
Flex your money? Oh, got some weed down the confiscate. Put it up.
No, I work at Dakota, sir.
Do that.
Your car? Mark, your car?
Yeah.
Want to flash money?
No, I was.
The one I just found, right?
I'm sorry,
The
sir.
one I just found, right?
No.
The one I just found, right? The one I just found.
So real quick, he wanted to flash his money in front of us, and then narcotics were found inside his vehicle. So, not the brightest person in the world. So that the vehicle was stopped for an infraction, but when they stopped them, they can smell fresh marijuana in the car. The passenger was real honest about it, so they admitted they had a little bit of weed in there. The canine went in the vehicle. They found maybe $10 worth of weed in there, a little nickel bag, couple nickel bags. There's nothing major. We have discretion. Can they go to jail for it? Absolutely. Do we want to tie up our court system and tie up these guys for $10 in weed, $5 in weed, whatever it was? No. So they were courteous to us. They were honest. They're just out looking for a good time. They're not bothering nobody. We don't know them. They were honest. Our officers were polite. So we just let them go with a warning. Now we know who they are. And they basically owe us a favor now because we let them go. So it's not always about arresting somebody. Sometimes just making those connections with these people and trying to get make some contact so they know that we were fair with them, and next time maybe they're involved in something, they might be a little bit honest with us and help us out with something. So when we do traffic stops, the purpose of us blocking off a particular lane of traffic is to protect the officer, because he's busy dealing with the vehicle and there's still traffic coming, especially something like Chicago Avenue. So when you see multiple squad cars on a traffic stop, they all have a different job to do. Right now I'm just blocking off the outer lane of Chicago Avenue to protect the commander and his backup from being hit by a car while they deal with the person they stopped. And then the vehicle behind him to the right is actually backing him up on the traffic stop. So sometimes people will call and say, why is there 3 cars on the traffic stop? It's just one person in the car. We're not all always there for the actual person in the car. We're actually here also to protect our officers. So we gotta make sure that they don't get hit by an oncoming vehicle, because a lot of people we call looky-loos, as soon as they see a squad car, their eyes are focused on us and they're not paying attention to traffic. And that's how a lot of officers get hurt, a lot of officers get hit, squad cars get hit, vehicles are distracted by the lights and basically being nosy and not paying attention to the lanes of traffic. So we're just gonna stay here and make sure that they don't get hit by a car. 141 traffic stop.
141.
Yeah, 149th and Kennedy, Indiana law enforcement plate, Lincoln Edward. So there's a window tinting law in Indiana. You cannot have your front windshield tinted above the AC1 line, which is right here where this dotted line is at on your windshield. No tint or film can be under that, no matter how light it is. He actually had really dark tint on his entire windshield, so it makes it difficult for us to see who's in the vehicle. You can't see anything, and then also at night it's difficult for the driver to see. So I never understood why people tint their front windshields. So I just cited him today with the warning that if he's caught again, we will impound it, because the law actually says that the vehicle cannot be driven on the road with a front windshield tint. But since it's daytime, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He says he's going to church, he's getting the citation, he has to make it home by dark or before we catch him again. So that was all, real simple.
He is affiliated and also wanted. He's not your caller.
We got two people, they were swerving around. They had two bottles, bottle of Patron, bottle of Hennessy open, two open Modelos. We just poured it out. They all sober. We gonna let them go, but no drunk drivers.
Something up. So we went to go pick something up, you feel me? He told us to pull in an alley. We pulled in an alley that was literally like the alley that was right there. Not this one, the next alley that was over right up. So he pulled over, he went into the yard. We sit in the alley, waiting on to come back. We not knowing that while he went in that yard, he already took the gun. We didn't know this. So I work at special, so he know that he took the gun type stuff. So we didn't know this. It's over with. I'm not giving it back to you. Bam. So now we riding around the harbor, looking, trying to figure out. I'm gonna stop. No, he reported the gun stuff.
All the police reported.
He was.
So why are you riding around looking for anyone?
No, that was gone. I swear to God. But I'm gonna be one. I'm being honest. You know everything.
I understand.
So
we're at a point now why are you looking for anyone?
Right.
Let the police handle that. We know who took it, right?
Yeah. So after that happened, whose car? This is his car. They stole his place off me. This is my cousin vehicle. My mama owned this car. Yes, my mama, his grandma, auntie owned this car. She passed it down, but the plates come out so easily. So they just easily to be taken off. So he reported the plate stolen already. This is his vehicle. So back to what you do.
Narcotic complaint here at we get here, the officers find two young males in here. One had a AK-47 and then the other one had an AR-15, both of them with 30-round clips, fully loaded. Gentleman sitting down just had a gun stolen from him today, earlier, and now he goes and picks up another rifle. So we feel that actually these officers just stopped the shooting from happening. These guys are up to no good, so we're going to go ahead and take these rifles for right now for safekeeping and try to figure out what's going on. All right, so we just left a nuisance house. We've been receiving numerous calls that people are there either selling narcotics, involved in gangs, and causing problems within this quiet block. So as we're patrolling the harbor section, an anonymous caller called in some gang members with guns and drugs at 3937 Hemlock. So our officers pulled up. There were two individuals there with one had a AR-15 assault rifle, the other one had an AK-47 assault rifle. Both of them had 30-round mags. They were both loaded. They weren't in their possession, but in the state of Indiana, it's legal. So it's legal to possess a rifle of that caliber without a permit. So that's why they didn't go to jail, but neither one of them would claim that the rifle was theirs. Nobody wanted to claim ownership. Nobody wanted to say, who it belonged to. So at that moment, we made the decision to take the weapons for safekeeping, since we're not just going to leave them on the streets. Honestly, I do believe the officers that responded did a great job. They actually stopped the shooting from happening, because one of the guys that was involved that we stopped that was in the vehicle with the rifle had just stated earlier today somebody basically took a gun from him. Stole it from him, so we believe he was out here looking for the guy that stole his gun so that he can shoot him. We can't prove it, so that's why we couldn't make the arrest, but we did document his name. We did take the weapons from them. We took two rifles off the streets, which is perfect. We are impounding their vehicle because nobody had a license. They couldn't go to jail for no license for the simple fact that the vehicle wasn't running and neither one of them were driving. So there was no way for us to prove that somebody was driving in order to arrest them. We also documented the house, 3937 Hemlock, as a nuisance, and we're going to get a hold of code enforcement to reach out to the landlord because it's a rental, and we're going to have a meeting with the landlord to start an eviction process for the tenants because they are just terrorizing that block. The kids are all 18 and up, and they're all involved in gangs and drugs. So we want to get them out of this neighborhood, and hopefully that'll calm things down on that block. So yes, we released 2 guys, but we released them without the weapons. So I think the patrol guys did an awesome job getting there as quick as they can before the guys can run and recovering 2 high power rifles. So great job to those officers that showed up right away.
So it's working out the B&B? Like,
yeah, you just gotta wait like about a 2-3 hour wait, but yeah.
Hi. Okay. All right. Drive safe.
One of our officers had a simple traffic stop for no license plate on a vehicle. When she ran his driver's license, a warning came up for officer safety because he was involved with resisting arrest, some type of aggravated assault. Doesn't mean he did anything now, but a warning came up across on his driver's license history for officer safety for us to be careful that he's known to resist and fight the police. So it didn't happen today, which is great. It was just a simple traffic stop, but it shows that every traffic stop can turn something from a no license plate to not knowing who's inside that vehicle, and then now found out that this guy is actually a violent person, especially towards police. And that's something that we don't know when we stop a car. And that's why sometimes you see us officers always on alert, because we never know who's in that car. And that's why there were so many officers responding. As soon as we heard the dispatcher say that there's an alert that he's violent towards police, of course you're gonna get 3-4 officers to show up over there to make sure that he doesn't decide to get violent today. So that traffic stop worked out really good, but tomorrow might be something else. Chief Rosario decided that not only is he gonna send extra manpower out there to check on these complaints, the administration as well went out there so that we could see firsthand what's going on out there. So we went out there and checked on all the actual complaints of certain apartment buildings that people were loitering or congregating at. We checked on where the shot spotter system was saying numerous shots were being fired at. We patrolled the hot areas where people were saying kids were loitering or being destructive. So we went out there and yeah, we did identify a few buildings that we believe is a common nuisance. So what we're going to do with that is we documented it. We're going to report to code enforcement, and those apartment buildings, we're going to get a hold of the landlords. What we typically do is then we'll have a meeting with them here at the police department to express our concerns from the community and our concerns from the police department. We give ample time to correct those problems. If they don't correct the problems within a short period of time, we will then actually pull their permit to rent. So they will no longer be able to rent, not just that building, any building in the city of East Chicago. We won't let them be a landlord. So that's one of the initiatives that we started with code enforcement, going after the landlords. Again, we just can't pull it for no reason. This is where we ask the community, please call. You know, call dispatch, call non-emergency. The phone number is 219-660-0000. When you call dispatch, it creates a run card for us here at the police department. We could then use that against these landlords, against certain people. But if you're calling someone else and then they call us on our personal phone, nothing is created on a run card. When we go to court, we have to have documentation that dispatch was called, that, you know, the police responded, so that we can say that it's a nuisance. You calling a council member or calling a friend to call us doesn't create a run card with dispatch. So when we go after these landlords legally, we have nothing to back it up. So we want to make sure that dispatch is called so we can create a case number, we can create a run card, and it's not me calling dispatch. Now it looks kind of biased that I got called by a council member or somebody to call dispatch for them. Well, now I'm calling as a deputy chief, and it looks like I'm targeting a particular individual because I'm the only one calling. Right. When in actuality, if you're the witness, you should be calling, and you can remain anonymous. You don't have to leave your name or information. Right. Remain anonymous. Let them know what's going on. They'll report it to us directly, and we'll go ahead and handle it.
Right.
But I believe the ride-along was successful. We did get a couple rifles off the streets. I believe those patrol officers really did stop a shooting from occurring. That was definitely a surprise. And again, thank you to that caller who remained anonymous, but that caller called dispatch. She saw something and said something. She immediately saw something suspicious on her block. She knows her block. She knows who lives there, who doesn't live there. She saw a suspicious vehicle. She saw 2 young teenagers there, and I would say about 18 to 19 years old. But she saw 2 young teenagers there, and something wasn't right. She believed she saw a gun, and instead of calling 3-4 people before they called us, she immediately called dispatch, who informed us. At no point did dispatch say where the caller lived, who the caller was, just that the caller called about a suspicious vehicle, possible gang members with guns. We show up, and it's exactly what the caller said. And the people never knew who called. We never asked who called, nor did we care. It gave us the reason to go over there, but the tip was very good. And again, if you saw that block, there were people there that were oblivious to what was going on. They were working on their yard. There was a family in the front just hanging out with little kids, having a great time, not knowing that just a few houses down, there were 2 guys armed with assault rifles, fully loaded, ready to shoot someone that just did something to them recently. So again, thank you to that caller. And again, if you see something, say something. That was a perfect example of someone who just picked up the phone, gave an anonymous tip to dispatch, and they got a great response immediately, and we were able to recover 2 weapons off the street. So thank you again to that caller who actually cared enough to call on that block and report something to us.